This is Module 8, the case study in EDL 853, and this is Chelsea Campbell. So a summary of this case study. Carl is a third grader identified with a behavior disorder. His behavior is self-abusive, but has recently escalated to aggression towards other adults. So his current teacher and other teachers have also experienced some of this aggression. They believe it's because his parents just recently got divorced, and that is the reason for this escalation. Nancy Taylor is Carl's current teacher. She is a veteran teacher of 10 years and wants him out of her classroom. She feels that he has just created a disruptive environment, that she can no longer have him in there. Susan Green is in her first year as a special education teacher. Nancy Taylor came to Susan to fix the problems with Carl. And then a little bit about the school district. There is a superintendent overall. And then within the building, there's an assistant superintendent. And the assistant superintendent also has a full-time teaching load. So category 1, problem identification and analysis. So what do I know? Carl has been aggressive towards Nancy, his teacher. Nancy wants him removed. Carl has a behavior disorder. His annual IEP eval already happened a few weeks ago. And then Carl's parents are recently divorced. They're going through a rough divorce, so they're not very involved. So what do I need to know? I want to know what the cause of this behavior is. They speculate that it's because of the divorce. Protocol that must be followed to update the behavior plan. How much support is needed of an administrator. And then what is the appropriate least restrictive environment for Carl? So what is the problem? The problem is Carl's behavior disorder has now created an unsafe environment for his teacher. His teacher would like him to be removed, but his emotional problems do not actually warrant full-time services. So category 2, what is my proposed plan? So the strategy 1, first I want to talk with Carl. Let's get Carl in this picture. I feel like a lot of the case study was what are the teachers doing and what is the parents doing? Well, let's talk with Carl and see what he thinks the behavior is about and why his behavior has escalated. Make sure we have explained the rules and appropriate behavior to Carl. Sometimes just having an administrator step in and reinforce those rules lets students know that this is serious. And then while awaiting for a meeting with the parents, we need to find a temporary fix so that the teacher is not in harm's way. So we need to make sure the teacher knows that every day is a fresh day. Don't come in already upset with Carl over what he did yesterday. And we have to find a way to make sure that she is safe, especially if Carl is throwing things at her. So whether that means the special education teacher comes and enforces policy with, or enforces the rules with Carl actually in the classroom during the day, something like that. A temporary fix while we're waiting for the parents that doesn't change anything from the current IEP. Strategy 2, I need to call a meeting between the general education teacher and the special education teacher to discuss the new plan. So the special education teacher already came up with a new plan to implement. So I need to make sure that the general education teacher knows of this plan, knows why and how it's going to be implemented. Strategy 3, do an IEP re-eval to get parents' permission for the new behavior plan. Parents must approve it. And then I also want to make sure I check in with Carl at least once a week. That way he knows I'm around and I'm there to help. So category 3, resolving the issues that promote success of all students. Okay, so Carl's intellectual capabilities and minor emotional problems do not require full-time services. So he cannot be removed from the inclusion classroom. That is not the least restrictive environment. So what I need to do is provide teachers and parents with appropriate resources so that all parties feel supported and can help Carl reach his potential. So my two teachers need to make sure that they have the resources, especially my general education teacher. It seems like she doesn't have very much experience with inclusion in classrooms. So I need to make sure that she has all the resources that she needs. And then the parents also seem to be struggling at home with how to manage Carl. So they need the resources to help them out. And then following a new behavior plan will create a safe environment for the other students because Carl will be more under control, or when he's out of control, he has a place to go. All right, reflection. What are some unresolved issues that I felt happen? So the relationship between Nancy and Susan was extremely negative. I feel like this might actually happen a lot. Veteran teachers expect the new replacement teacher to do exactly what the old teacher did. And that's not how it always goes. New teachers come in with new ideas. Updated policy is fresh on their brain. And it sounds like the former teacher didn't actually follow of the laws, because a least restrictive environment is not just working alone on a workbook. So that shouldn't have been done following the laws. So I feel like a conversation needs to happen between them, probably without all the stress of Carl. So maybe once everything settles down, they will be able to have a better understanding of why this happened or why these policies were followed. Parents not being involved was another issue. I wish that there was a way that you could help parents understand how to deal with this. So that's why I hoped that providing them resources would help them understand, but it seems like it's more this divorce is very hard on them. They're trying to figure out how to deal with that, and they both aren't around very much. So I wish there was a way to get parents more involved to help it be successful. All right, and then the third issue, I definitely think there needs to be more administrators in the school district, more administrators in the school district. To have one just actually in the building, I believe would be sufficient considering how small this school district is. However, that person needs to be that their job is just being an administrator. Having a full-time teaching load on top of being an administrator is just too much. There has to be someone around to handle these situations as they happen, not just at the beginning of the day, end of the day, lunchtime, whenever they have a spare minute. Because Carl could have harmed that teacher, and someone needed to be able to handle that right away. So I definitely think that there needs to be more administrators, which I know would be hard to do because of money, but that is a huge unresolved issue. All right, category 5. So component 1, academic success of students enhancing instructional capacity. So how did I ensure academic success? So Carl is to be in an inclusive classroom. That is the least restrictive environment. That is how he will succeed academically. With the implementation of the new behavior plan, he will be able to learn and not just create a disruptive environment. And to continue to ensure a positive learning environment, Carl is removed whenever he negatively impacts it. Component 2, how did I ensure the well-being of every student? So to help Carl, the administrator will meet weekly with Carl to check in on progress and how he feels things are going. 2, the new behavior plan removes Carl from the classroom when he is creating an unsafe environment so that the other students feel safe. And through inclusion, every student has the opportunity to learn at their highest level. And the other students can learn from Carl and other special education students. Component 3, how did I enhance instructional capacity? So support was provided to both the general education teacher and the special education teacher. And then during the meeting between teachers and administrator, it allowed for discussion of policy and explanation of the behavior plan. And then resources were provided to both the general education teacher, or resource was provided to the general education teacher on the inclusion classrooms. Resources were provided to both teachers, but the general education teacher definitely needed some resources on inclusion because the solution to an inclusion problem is not removing. So she definitely needed some resources on how to handle that. And thank you for watching. That is my case study.